Welcome to Erin's World Famous. I'm Erin, and on today's episode, we're going to be making a teriyaki glazed pork tenderloin with butter and herb rice. Here's the list of ingredients you'll need to make today's recipe. For the full recipe, please check out the description below. First, you're going to start off by preparing your pork tenderloin. Once you remove them from the packages, you're going to want to dry them off with paper towels, and then any unnecessary fat or silver skin that is on here, just glide a knife under slightly, and then it usually just pulls right away. After you've cleaned up your pork tenderloin, you're going to preheat your oven to 350 and then prepare your pan. I'm using a glass 9x13 baking dish. Give it a light spray with some cooking spray. Then you're going to take your pork, lay it in the pan. Give the top a little tiny drizzle of olive oil just to get the seasonings to stick. Rub it down with the oil. And then for your seasonings, I'm using an even mixture of onion powder, garlic powder, salt, and pepper. Mix them together and then sprinkle with your seasoning. Now while you're cooking your pork, you can use a meat probe or a thermometer if you have one. The one I'm using is a meter meat probe. You want to stick it through the thickest part of the meat. You could also use a thermometer and check it about every 10 to 15 minutes. While your oven is preheating, it's time to make your glaze. You're going to take mustard, soy sauce, honey, and brown sugar, and mix it all together. I'm using equal parts of honey and almost double of the brown sugar. This sauce is pretty much to taste, so after you mix it all together, taste it, and then you can add a little bit more soy sauce, a little bit more mustard, whichever you prefer. But this is what works best for me and my family. Once you've finished making your glaze, you can set it aside, and after your pork tenderloin has been in the oven for about 10 minutes is when you're going to first baste it with your glaze. Next, we're going to cook our rice. You're going to start off by taking 4 tablespoons of butter and melting it in a pan. Once that's melted, you're going to saute some finely chopped onions. Now my pork tenderloin's been in the oven for about 10 minutes, so I'm going to pull it out and give it its first basting, making sure to cover every inch of the top of it. With your butter almost completely melted and bubbly, time to throw in your onions. You're going to saute it in the butter just for a couple minutes, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, until they start to turn translucent. After your onions have started to turn translucent, it's time to add the rice. I made sure to rinse mine first to get all of the extra starch off. Once you pour it in, give it a good stir, and you're going to toast your rice until it's a light golden brown. So once pieces of your rice start to get a light golden brown, you're going to add in your chicken stock. Oops. Careful not to make as much of a mess as I am. And give it a good stir. Allow your rice to reach a boil, and then you're going to cover it with a lid for 20 minutes. But first, we're going to sprinkle in some of our parsley. I would put in about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons, however much you prefer. Once your rice reaches a boil like this, it's time to cover it and turn it to low and set a timer for 20 minutes. Now it's time for another basting. It's been about another 10 minutes. Give it a nice covering, and then you're going to pop it back in the oven and continue to cook until it's done to your likeness. So you're going to remove your pork tenderloins once it's reached an internal temperature of 155, and then allow it to rest for about 10 minutes, and that'll help it reach a target temperature of 150, and then you can begin slicing. After you've allowed your pork tenderloin to rest, you're going to slice it in as however thick or thin slices you prefer. You can see how tender it is and fully cooked. This is more of like a medium well temperature. Feel free to cook it more or less, however you prefer. Just make sure that you cook it to at least 145. Now when you're basting your pork, it's going to seem like you have way too much of the glaze, but that's because you want to save a little extra just to drizzle on top. This stuff is so good, you'll definitely want extra. And here you have your teriyaki glazed pork tenderloin with butter and herb rice. If you've enjoyed today's recipe, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and comment on what you may like to see me cook next. But now it's time to eat. We'll see you next time.